So Mike Ritland, welcome aboard.
It's both a pleasure and an honor to be here. I appreciate you having me.
So we always have to start where you started. Tell us a little bit about Waterloo, Iowa.
Well, it's it's one of those spots where I guess it's a good place to be from. Not a whole lot happening in Iowa, which honestly is why part of the reason why I got into dogs, because there's not a whole lot else going on. Wrestling obviously is huge in Iowa, and I had the pleasure of growing up during the Gable era of Iowa wrestling, and my dad wrestled with Dan Gable in high school, and so being kind of ingrained in that culture growing up, even though I never wrestled because he can hardly walk and is so beat up from it. He swam, and so all of us swam. Long story short, it was still a big part of my life. But so I, growing up, kind of having that mentality ingrained, was a big proponent of where I'm at today and why I got involved in both the Navy and in dogs, because of the appreciation for that mentality. In terms of Waterloo, it's a suburban town, 70,000 people. I'd say lower middle class probably. A lot of influence from Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis. Pretty rough high school growing up there. It wasn't the best of times for me, but taught me a lot of hard lessons about perseverance and doing things even when you don't want to do them, and facing things that you're not willing to be comfortable with facing, and things of that nature. And I was on the swim team and influenced by my grandfathers in terms of their service in World War II, and just always wanted to make an impact in terms of serving my country. I know I'm a little younger than you, but for me, I was in junior high when the first Gulf War broke out, and it scared the crap out of me. A couple of years later, I was like, where do I sign up? Like, that progression, just in that couple year period is just crazy. But it, those experiences and seeing some terrorist activity as a young kid growing up, it really shaped no different than how it shapes the guys we're constantly going against in the generations growing up, which has a huge impact. But from a recruiting standpoint, but yeah, it was something that blue collar town, patriotic. Grandfathers were pipe hitters in the World War II, and
what'd they do in World War II?
So my mom's dad was on a minesweeper in the Navy. He was a cook, straight out of Navy. Steven Seagal, just a cook, but he was just a cook. But he was on a fleet of minesweepers. There was 98 in the fleet in the Mediterranean, and 2 of them came back, and he was on one of them. My dad's dad was in the Army. He actually just tells you how times have changed. He beat an English Allied soldier to death in a bar fight somewhere in Europe during the war, and they just sent him home and discharged him. But I didn't know him real well. Met him a couple of times. He had a pretty rough go, after the war, and was basically an alcoholic, and I only saw him 3 or 4 times maybe growing up before he died. But my mom's dad was a huge influence. I talked with him a lot about it. I was always fascinated by his stories and his outlook, and just he wasn't aversive to talking about it. Enjoyed talking about it, but yeah, just it was very inspiring, and it just made me want to serve. I've kind of always leverage my decisions in life on how I'm going to make the most bang for my buck and get the most out of every decision. And I felt like it was my turn to carry the torch for a little bit.